I know that a lot of you loved the internalized misogyny videos that I did a while back, but there's something that I should have added to the list. Now this is going to be the thing that causes me to get blocked. This is going to be the thing that has people typing 15 comment threads in my comment section. I just know it. I feel it coming. This is how we vilify grandmas for not watching their grandchildren. Wait, hold on. Get out of the comment section. Listen, I am not talking about people whose mothers are narcissistic, manipulative, sneaky, underhanded, and controlling. Not talking about y'all. So you don't have to trauma dump in the comment section and tell me about, well, it's only because, okay, I get it. But it's this idea that when you have kids, your mom must watch your children while you work, or she is automatically a bad person. Now, I will say this. One of my mutuals is an amazing grandma. She actually has a room in her house for her grandson. I think that is amazing. However, that is her choice. Her kids didn't ask her to do that. She just wanted to do that for her grandchild. On the other side of that, I have a friend whose daughter is mad at her because she won't quit her job and move to Florida to watch her children 24/7. Now, my mom, she ultimately would do what she could. If she was working, she couldn't watch the kids. If she was tired, she couldn't watch the kids. If she was available, sure, she would watch the kids. But it's this idea that if a woman does not only raise her own kids, which you should do, but if she doesn't continue that by dropping everything to raise her grandkids, she is now a bad person. Now, sure, the trauma that our parents went through is definitely not our fault. But I will say that a lot of women, the conversations that we're having about patriarchy and all that now wasn't big. It wasn't widely discussed at the time that most of our parents were coming up and raising us. A lot of parents just kind of went with the flow. You did what society told you to do. You found a man, you got married, you popped out some kids, you go sit your ass down somewhere. Because of that, a lot of women didn't really have a choice in how they wanted to live their lives. Pro-choice really was, frowned upon back then. So a lot of women had babies and they raised those babies because that's just what you had to do. Before you trauma dump in my comment section, I know there are mothers who are horrible, who are abusive. I'm not saying that that is okay. I am not talking about them in this scenario. When and if, because my kids know that they are not obligated to have children, they can live their life however they want. If my kids decide when they, get out on their own that they want to have children, I will tell you one thing. I will watch their kids for them if I have the energy and the mental bandwidth to do so. But it's not just going to be, Mom, I'm on the way with little Timmy. No, you're not. I will also be the grandparent who, if my kids need help paying for something for the kids, I'm going to write the check. I'm going to send the cash app. If it's an issue with a daycare or a nanny, I'm going to help with that. But I'm not always going to be ready and willing to babysit because I will have my own life. And as someone who struggles with bipolar disorder and depression, there's just going to be days when I might be available, but I can't. And my kids have been raised in a way where they understand that you have to respect people's boundaries and people don't always have to do everything for you. I'm going to be the village for my children to the extent that my brain and my emotions and my money will allow me to do. If they need a break and I can't do it, okay, how much does the babysitter cost? So because of that, it's really sad that people would look down on me because I'm not the grandma in the kitchen baking the cookies, telling stories about the good old days. Quite frankly, the stories that I got to tell, them kids are going to have to get older for that. But it just seems like women can never escape this narrative that we always got to be taking care of somebody or we're bad people. If you're not taking care of a man, you got to get a pet and take care of the pet. You got to have kids to be taking care of kids. And then when you finally raise your kids and you do what you got to do, you got to be taking care of your grandkids. When can women ever live their lives and have their own identities and do things for themselves? I had a family member that was watching my kids for me many years ago, and she retired, and she came to me and said, you know what, when I retire, I just decided I don't want to watch any more kids. She wasn't mean about it, and I'm not mad at her because she raised, I think, 8 children and a horrible husband who finally died, and she wanted to enjoy her life. So at the end of the day, one thing that I realized is these are my kids at the end of the day. And while it is nice that I was lucky enough to have people in my life to help me along the way, they didn't have to do that for me. At the end of the day, it was my responsibility to make sure that proper and safe childcare is arranged for my kids so that I could work when they were little. It was my responsibility to make sure that if they were sick, there was a way for me to go get them. So while there are some horrible mothers out there who do shitty things, I totally get that. This post is not about the shitty moms. But the ones who did right by their kids, they did what they were supposed to do, and now they want to breathe. They should not be vilified for setting a boundary. And if you say, well, then you're never going to see your grandkids, well, then that's a decision that you have to make. And I posted a video a while ago that talked about how women need to understand that sometimes you got to pay for the village, and you need to make arrangements without expecting that people are going to be all hands on deck. In a perfect world, we'd have a group of people rushing in to aid us in every stage of our life, and we wouldn't have to worry about a thing. But we don't live in a perfect world, okay? And to say that women are not allowed to set boundaries in this way is really unfortunate, you know? And quite frankly, I don't want anybody watching my kids that really doesn't want to be watching them, you know?